Hello, my fellow presenters. Okay, so in this video, I want to talk about 3 ways that you can go about expanding your freelancer career or discipline in ways that you can really opportunize on things that are already available to you. So this video is very much designed for people that have managed to get some kind of traction in work that they either like doing and want to pursue more of, and already have managed to get some ground. And a lot of people might be watching this and thinking, oh, I'm way off, but you're probably already on the way there. So just bear with me on this. I think that often it's very easy for us to underestimate ourselves. So the first thing that I would say, and the first one in general of my 3, is to really tap into your network. There's a job that you really enjoy it, but you think, I wish I could get more gigs like this. I wonder what else is out there. Ask your network of your peers, people that you're working with, what kind of jobs they're on. Build a good rapport with them. And also it's that thing of being giving as well. So perhaps there's work that you're doing and that you think that they might be great for. In many cases, you're probably of a different demographic. So really promote each other. I've got a community of people that I often work with in the kind of corporate role play and co-facilitation space, and there have been some really great people that have been really giving to me in terms of telling me, this company would be great for you, that you do the odd days here and there, these types of clients, this is the type of briefs that you have, this is what the typical day layout is. And I just think, great. The more and more work that I do, I realize what kind of work I particularly like doing and what I want to pursue more of. And that's just been really great. Often you might be giving each other contact emails of people that you can prospectively write to. And it often helps when you can say, look, I've worked with such and such. This went really well. I've also worked in this area. So already there's that sense of trust when you approach another company or just another institution that you would want to work with as an associate. I'm also going to just come back to that point to really make sure that, if people are particularly helpful to you, don't be that sort of person of, I don't want to tell them about this or divulge that, because people will remember that. And I think it's really important that you help each other. There's always more out there. And I do believe in that mantra of, what you put out there, comes back to you in a good way. So that's really important. And also it's really great for you because you build a sense of trust with people, and often you can help each other. So perhaps you might have a job where that you're booked on, but something else comes up, and by you not taking this other job, it means you lose out on other dates that job is contingent on. And that happens a lot. And sometimes you might be able to say, look, are you free? Right, okay, I think that you would fit the brief here. They would be happy to have you. You already work with them. So if you do have to kind of approach a company with a certain situation, maybe you can say, look, this has come up. So-and-so, however, is available. What do you think? You can put that to them. So you've done some of the work in sort of helping them. So this is just an example of something that often happens, particularly in the kind of corporate role play space. Or it could be like a gig. You often have a residency gig. I often have to use people for cover if I then get other work that I need to take or that asks me to travel to a different part of the country. So which I've done on occasion, and I've got a few great covers that I'm able to use, so that's great. So that's something to bear in mind. Now obviously sometimes it will be made explicitly clear to you that the client particularly has opted to have you and they wouldn't be happy for that, but other times it would work. So that can really help you to make sure that you can really expand and take on other opportunities, particularly as it's really hard to get all of the dates in your diary to line up one after another and to not have any clashes. Loads of freelancers will experience clashes and you just sort of have to make it work. Particularly now there's a problem with in the corporate space trying to get bookings on Mondays or Fridays, which is in part why I started doing some of the teaching, because it's great if I can get a booking on those days. because most people often commute in on a Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday. So that's something that's come up now, particularly in this hybrid age. Okay, the next thing is, for work that you're already doing, is to go for it and ask for a pay rise. So on this, you might have been somewhere for a long time, but you might think, oh, do you know what? I'm a dime a dozen. I'm easily replaceable. I'm nervous to ask. I can see that the business perhaps is really stretched. And that might be something to factor in before you ask. But I do believe in the idea of, if you don't ask, you don't get. I think it's really important that if you're doing a really good job, particularly if it's customer facing, so the example might be if I'm hosting quizzes and people have said, oh, do you know what, I really enjoy your quiz hosting, ask for those reviews, ask for that to be put back to the bar, ask for that to be, put on their web profiles. Ask yourself for your own reviews that you can use. Also, be aware of the pay range that's available to you, or that's available in the industry. So ask other people. I think being able to have that frank conversation about pay is so important. We're really coy about it over here, but it's really important to know about the ranges that are out there, so you know what realistically you could kind of go for, and you can put that to them. If you're doing a good job and you can still see scope to get more in the sort of range of what companies often pay. So before I started doing my solo quizzes, I really tried to get an idea and ask different bars, look, what were the other bars charging, and what kind of service were they getting, and what could I offer? And also just be aware of what other things that you can offer that's unique or that adds value. So in my case, and this is using the example of quizzes, I know that they are getting a more bespoke quiz night. It's not just a standard quiz for the evening. I'm going in there and I'm also looking at the crowd and I'm thinking, I've got this list of questions and I've got this round, but I might just slot in this round instead. Perhaps it could be my music round, because I think that this particular crowd is going to react to it even better. So I might have, for example, a lot more families with their kids, perhaps on holiday, or American tourists, which we often get at one of my venues. So I'm going to adapt that because I want my quiz to kind of speak to them and everybody to feel involved. So that's an example there. And also, you've got somebody that's there every week rather than somebody that's not there often, and that's a good compare. Excuse me. So think about the things that you offer in terms of value that perhaps the others don't, and just factor that in. The other thing, and this is a really important tip for being able to ask for a pay rise, perhaps you get an idea of what the in-house employees have got. Have they had a pay rise? I know that particularly in the corporate space, corporate role play space, a lot of people in the private sector have, particularly in line with inflation in recent years. We've had double-digit inflation. So that's something you can factor in. And also, if you're London based, rents around here are through the roof. It's really heated at the moment. There's a lack of supply, and a lot of people that you're working with at the different institutions that you go to will understand that. So you can sort of mention that, you've had a steep rent hike. I know I did in my case, and I put that to them. I want to be here. I really enjoy being here, but that's the situation that I'm in. And that's also something that you can feed back to people that book you on jobs. You can say, oh great, I would love to work for this client again, but I'm just a bit concerned about the fee and what we've been asked to do, because actually there's a lot of work here, and with my situation I'm finding that I'm going to need this kind of a fee to cover costs, my overall cost. Is this something that you can match? And just really put that to them, especially because they've often been in that boat. And you can mention things, particularly as a freelancer, that you're not getting holiday pay, sick pay. You often have to make that up, and particularly as we approach Christmas and New Year's, I know that's often a time when a lot of the work that I do dies down, the week of Christmas and the week of New Year. So I often have to make that up in terms of, rent and things like that. And you will often have that as a freelancer, and you have to factor that in. So that's all important to bear in mind there. And also there's all the unpaid correspondence time for invoicing and things like that. So the fees that you charge have to factor all of that in. It's really, really important. And in terms of phrasing, something that I find really useful to say is, I just think I have to, this is the fee that I need so that this opportunity is accessible to me. I think that's a really great bit of phrasing there, because I think often there's a lot of talk about diversity and inclusion, and it comes from a great place, but we're all diverse. And what does inclusion mean for you so that you can take up this opportunity? I know that for me, as a single income household living on my own, this is what I need. I also, as somebody, I'll mention this, I'm not in any kind of subsidized housing. I'm not in a housing association or social housing. I'm renting on the brutal private market, and as a single income household. So all of those things you can sort of put out there, plus the precariousness of being a freelancer and not getting those benefits. So asking for a pay rise, put your case across with your situation, and just make sure that you do a job. Be aware of those boundaries, and then off you go. I'd be very surprised if you didn't get some kind of improvement or increase. And it might be that you get a reduced workload. It might be that you get booked more, or something more regular. There'll be different things that you can negotiate if it's not always a pay rise. So really just think about that. Okay, and the third and final point is about upselling. Upselling based on what you're already doing. So I'm going to use the quiz example again, but this can apply to other disciplines. In fact, I'll just give you an example on the spot. So in terms of the corporate role play that I do, training where we act out different scenarios and we give conversations and are hot seated on the day. Give conversations, it sounds terrible, but we will simulate conversations, and then we will facilitate training after about what went well, what didn't go well. We'll be hot seated as the characters. We'll rerun it, and we'll try and get it right, and really break down what are the things to look out for here in this conversation and how to make the communication better. One of the things that I could do there, and I have mentioned to a couple of companies, is I've got some experience with writing scenarios. I know what often as a role player I need for detailed information in a scenario, what's really helpful and what's not, what's quite stereotypical, what can make this more different and unique but still feel sort of truthful. So writing briefs might be one thing. It could be helping to organise with different role players and cast sheets and send out emails and confirmations and check-ins and so forth. Some people do that with one other company that I do. So there might be other roles that you can sort of upsell your kind of freelancer service or offerings, and which is great because it just means that you can sort of get more work. But often it's something that's administrational and it's flexible, and you can further supplement your income. Now, in the case of quizzing and in terms of really upselling, the thing that I've gone for is trying to push both specialist quizzes and themed quizzes. So what I mean by that are themed quizzes. So right, this month we've got 1 month Harry Potter, the next Friends, really doing that as a separate thing, because it's separate from the weekly quiz. But this is another thing that I get to do. I really enjoy hosting. I really enjoy just creating a night with people that have chosen to sort of spend their downtime with you and do this quiz and do this task and have a good time. So for me, it was a case of I can do themed quizzes, and I'm really hot on making sure that that's not instead of any weekly venues that I do, and I can go into that in another video for other reasons why I don't think that works. But doing themed quizzes on top, so as more of a go-to event. And the other thing is corporate bespoke quizzes, so having profiles set up and saying, right, I can, and having a card where you can say, right, here are my links, this is my email, having my cover letter set up, and I can give you a bespoke corporate quiz for your special event, for your company. I can either go here, or you can use the an area of this bar or one of the bars that I host in, we can get that booked for you, and we can do a specialist event. And often, particularly with those specialist events, because there's more curation involved just for one event, it's really important that I price higher, and most of them are priced higher. And I've actually asked for feedback when I've given quotes. They've said, yep, your quotes were fine in the range, it's what we were looking for, what we were expecting. So that, and also asking and about what other people have quoted, or trying to find that out, because that's really important, because again, you have to factor in that unpaid correspondence time, that prep time, as well as not just the cost of your travel, but the time you spend traveling for that one gig. So really factoring all that in. And yeah, I'll probably talk more about that in another video. At the moment, I'm experimenting with a website called Add to Event, but we'll see. There might be other things that I can use, and I'll share those with you. So yes, those are 3 that I've spoken about in depth there. Is there anything from these principles that relates to you and that you can share on your experiences, or from your experiences? I'd be really interested to hear. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.